Ember, come on. 1, 2, 3.
It began with a sound, sharp, desperate, and echoing against the Welsh cliffs. The crashing waves below Moelfre's rugged shoreline masked much of it. But above the roar of the sea, a woman's voice carried into the open air. She was calling a name, over and over again, with a mixture of fear and disbelief. Ember! Ember! What began as a playful afternoon with a beloved pet had turned into a nightmare. A dog had vanished from sight, swallowed not by the sea, but by something far stranger and far more dangerous, the jagged maze of a cliff edge. The cliffs of Moelfre are no place for hesitation. Cowering rock faces rise from the sea, scarred by centuries of storms, their edges crumbling without warning. Below, the water surges in restless fury, dragging anything that falls toward the deep. To imagine a small spaniel stranded there, trembling, barking into the void, seems impossible. Yet this was the reality that her owner faced. A simple game of fetch had turned into a desperate call for help. The ball had gone too far, Ember had chased too eagerly, and in an instant she was gone. When the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, the RNLI, received the call, they knew the clock was already ticking. In a rescue, minutes can mean the difference between a reunion and tragedy. Ember's barks, faint but present, were the only thread holding hope together. If the sea rose, if she slipped, if panic overtook her, she could be lost forever. The RNLI crew prepared quickly. Dry suits, life jackets, ropes, all checked and secured. Coxswain Vince Jones led the charge, his voice steady but urgent. He had seen rescues in rougher seas, had pulled men and women from the grip of waves, but the plea of a panicked dog and the anguish of its owner added another weight to his chest. A dog, after all, is family, and when family is in danger, there is no hesitation. As the boat approached the cliff base, the world grew louder. The spray of waves against stone, the bark echoing like a distress beacon. They couldn't see her yet, but Ember's cries painted a picture of fear. Somewhere above them, in a place impossible to reach from land, she was waiting. Jones knew immediately. Climbing from the cliff top was out of the question. Too steep, too unstable. The only way was through the sea itself. Two rescuers plunged into the cold water, their breaths sharp against the chill. Step by step, hand by hand, they pulled themselves onto the slippery ledge. And then, there she was, Ember. Soaked, trembling, tail tucked tight against her body. Her paws scraped at the narrow strip of rock, her eyes darting between the men and the deadly drop just behind her. For a moment the rescuers paused. You cannot charge into fear, you must soften it. Jones called out to her, his voice low and soothing. "It's all right, girl. You're safe now." Slowly the sharp barks became whimpers. The frantic pacing slowed. She was still afraid, but she was listening. That was enough. When the leash clicked onto her harness, time seemed to still. The next move had to be perfect. One wrong slip, one wrong jump, and Ember could tumble into the water, injured or worse. But there was no other choice. The rescuer held her tight, whispered again, good girl," and leapt from the ledge into the arms of the waiting man below. Water swallowed them whole for an instant. Then, like a miracle, 3 heads emerged. 2 men, 1 dog. Ember sputtered and shook, but she was alive, safe, still clinging to the voices that called her good. On the shore, her owner waited, heart pounding. The reunion was almost too much. Ember, dripping wet, bounding forward, pulling against her lead as if every second apart had been unbearable. Tears mixed with laughter, relief with exhaustion. The nightmare was over, for one family at least. But the story didn't end there. For the rescuers, this was more than just a mission. It was a warning. Cliffs are unforgiving. A ball, a stick, a moment of play, these are enough to turn joy into tragedy. And though Ember was saved, not every call ends this way. Yet as Ember ran through the grass, free again, tail wagging as though nothing had happened, there was a reminder of why they risked it. Because in that fragile moment between life and death, loyalty is not bound by species. A dog cries, a family pleads, and strangers answer. And in answering, they remind us of something powerful, that even in the face of crashing seas and crumbling cliffs, courage can rewrite the ending. Ember's barks had once been a signal of fear. Now they were simply the sound of joy, echoing across the Welsh coast, carried by the wind as if to say, "I was lost, but I was found."